Hello everyone, Suro and Disney here, and I've got some Halloween Horror Nights information to go over with everyone today. And just like I said I would, whenever there's going to be a new development in Halloween Horror Nights 23 this year, I was going to give my 2 cents about it, and that's exactly what this video is going to be all about. Now, if you haven't seen my other Halloween Horror Nights house speculation videos, I'm going to put a link in the description bar for that video, as well as my Dr. Jimmy video. I want to talk about both of those, and they're both going to be in here, so you can check those out. And this will be the third one, and third of many, as we start getting more news and information about HHN 23 as the month of June progresses and into the summertime, where we're going to start finding out exactly how the website's going to work out, and exactly about Horror Unearthed, and its footprint on 23 this year, so a lot more information, and we're going to announce all the IPs and the houses one by one, and we'll find out if we were right or if we were dead wrong. So, I'm going to talk about a couple of things. Now, before we get started, I do want to mention something real quick, that we'll start off with going backwards, actually. Flashback, if you will. Utilizing one of Dr. Jimmy's cryptic comments, and we'll talk about those right now, actually. So, there were 8 cryptic comments that were released from Dr. Jimmy. Balloons, Kevin, surname, eraser, which was later replaced by acrostic, Christine, silencio, Simon, and flashback. Given we had 8, chances are that means we're getting 8 haunted houses this year, and that's exactly what's going to happen. At least that's what I believe is going to happen. As the locations for said haunted house revealed 8 haunted houses. You have both sprung tents, you have the disaster queue, the overflow queue, you have the parade building, as well as Soundstage 21, which used to house TNA's Impact Zone. And it's so big, it's the biggest soundstage at Universal, it could actually be one big one or 2 like medium-sized ones. I think that's exactly what's going to happen, but I'll bring that up later. Soundstage 22 and Soundstage 24. 22 is where Silent Hill was last year, and 24 is the furthest soundstage behind Twister on York Street. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. So I want to bring up these comments. As I mentioned on my previous video, I kind of deciphered the comments just like every one of you guys have, and the people on Horror Night Nightmares and the various other websites around the internet that cover Halloween Horror Nights information. They have deciphered this to be pretty much exactly what I'm about to mention, and I want to put my spin on things so we can talk about other things. So, like I said, this is going back to the video that I filmed recently, but I think it was a couple weeks ago. My time is all messed up. Having 4 days off straight, it just kind of messes with my days, to be totally honest. So, especially when there's absolutely nothing to do. So, I basically just veg out, and by veg out, I mean I just sit in this chair and watch the Tim Tracker on YouTube. That's pretty much what I do. So, shout out to the Tim Tracker. Tim and Jen, awesome. Can't wait to see you guys at Halloween Horror Nights this year, so hopefully that works out. Anyway, so, as you guys know, last year was my first year at Halloween Horror Nights, and it was kind of a bust, to say the least. If you want to check out that video, you can. It's in the Halloween Horror Nights playlist here on Pop, and it's the Penn and Teller video, so you can check that out and see my horrific experience about Halloween Horror Nights opening night, my birthday last year, mind you, as it relates to Penn and Teller. So, which is the only reason I went to the event in the first place. But basically, I want to talk about these comments one by one. Now, the first one's balloons. Balloons pretty much has been deciphered as to mean an American werewolf in London. And basically the line, "A naked American man stole my balloons," that leads us all to that. So I don't see any way you're going to go other than that. 2, the clue is Kevin. Kevin gives a lot of different things. It could be Kevin Nash, it could be Kevin Smith, it could be getting a Red State house, that'd be awesome. But mainly we're talking about Kevin from Sin City, Elijah Wood's character, Or, in a longer term that is lost on a lot of you, Ezra Miller, Kevin from We Need to Talk About Kevin. The Lynn Ramsey film from several years back, which is awesome, by the way, if you never got a chance to see it. Kevin is on the board of betting during Cabin in the Woods, and no one bets on Kevin. Well, Universal is obviously betting on Kevin because they're setting up Kevin to mean Cabin in the Woods. And Cabin in the Woods is not just a house this year. It's not just a scare zone. It's not just a experience. It's something a little bit more, but I'll get to that in a minute. But I'll talk about Kevin meaning Cabin in the Woods. The third clue was surname. Surname could be a lot of things. Obviously, it could be your last name. It could be anything, really. But the surname of Dr. Jimmy, who did these videos, is Walker. Walker equals not a Chuck Norris house, which I'm sure Will would mark out for, but Walker equals Walker. Walker equals the return of The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead is pretty much what created so many problems for people waiting in line last year at Halloween Horror Nights, given the fact that that IP brought in more crowds than ever before, and that's the reason why they're coming back, because it was so successful in bringing out the crowds. But you put it in a different location this year, and I don't see it in Disaster, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So we have our fourth clue, which was Eraser, which somehow worked into an American Horror Story. Yeah, an American Horror Story. Well, apparently that got scrapped. I don't know why they got rid of American Horror Story. Something fell through, and they're not going to do it. Like, apparently FX didn't want to work with Universal. At the end of the day, there wasn't enough money, the bottom line wasn't there, so they 86'd it, and they came up with a new clue. Acrostic. Acrostic, to me, equals out to the remake of Evil Dead, which we just got earlier this year. Sorry, you guys have to notice I don't edit, so if I screw up, so there. So acrostic equals Evil Dead. Acrostic would be David, Eric, Mia, Olivia, and Natalie, which is all the people that are in the cabin in the Evil Dead, the new Evil Dead, and that spells out demon. That's an acrostic for demon, meaning Evil Dead is going to be the house. Now, will there be an ode to Ash, the Bruce Campbell iconic character from the original Evil Dead? It remains to be seen, and given the fact that Universal Orlando is not that heavy on gore, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do this house and do it justice. But I'll give it to A&D to be able to come up with something awesome, like they're so known to be doing. 5 would be Christine, and there's a lot of directions you can go with this. Christine, I really wanted this to be the Stephen King house, but it's not going to be, sadly. Stephen King is not going to be at Halloween Horror Nights, at least not this year. I mean, we might see potentially a Stephen King Lagoon show, kind of like we did with Hitchcock last year, but I don't know. I'm going to go with that being a possibility, but mainly what we're looking at is Christine equals out to Resident Evil. And Resident Evil was a huge hit at Halloween Horror Nights in Japan, at Universal Studios Japan last year, and they're bringing it over to the US this year, and it's really great. We definitely are in the Halloween Horror Nights spirit right now because the Umbrella Corporation have taken over the Horror Nights updaters pages, and they're targeting anybody that has any secret information on Resident Evil. So I don't know if they're going to target me or not. Probably not, but because I'm so small time compared to them. But you never know. Who knows? Maybe Suro and Disney is going to be accosted by the Umbrella Corporation. We'll find out sooner rather than later. But Christine Yamada, as she's known as Four Eyes, basically she is a security operative for Umbrella. She's a virologist who took part in the Wolfpack's mission at Raccoon City. Christine Henry was a director of one of the French facilities of the Umbrella Corporation. So they're both connected to Umbrella, so that's why I'm thinking Christine means Resident Evil. 6 is Silencio. Silencio is basically, there's the David Lynch film Mulholland Drive. There is a scene, and it's called the Club Silencio, alright? And basically, there is a barker that comes out and says, "Let me present to you the Weeping Lady of Los Angeles, Rebecca Del Rio." And Weeping Lady is a loose interpretation of the words La Llorona, which is basically what I'm looking at. Universal Hollywood's La Llorona, which is going to be what everyone thinks Silencio is. Now, let me give you another idea of what Silencio might be. Now, we talked really earlier in the year about how Mama could possibly be a house, and that plays really into it well. I mean, Mama's kind of more in tune to how Dead End was last year. I didn't get a chance to go through Dead End, but from what I've seen videos-wise of it and pictures-wise of it, it looks very similar. Like, it's there. And Mama would be fine. Now, Silencio would be really nice to be a really bad clue, and a bad clue meaning that it would be a really obvious clue for, in my opinion, the best horror movie of last year, Sinister. So, I don't know if Silencio would be Sinister. I mean, I think that's probably no, but you never know, it might be. But we're all guessing that La Llorona is going to be the house we're looking at this year. And there are a lot of people saying that La Llorona is going to be the icon this year. Well, I'm not exactly sure about that, but we'll get to that later. Simon, basically, there's a lot of ways you can go. Simple Simon, Simon Says, leading to Legendary Truth. Basically, that's what I'm thinking this is going to be. They're talking a lot about a special house this year. They're, like, mentioned there's been church pews that have been moved in, and there's iron bars that were seen over by the sprung tent. So, Simon is going to be this proposed prison house. This prison house is supposed to be kind of like, well, back at Halloween Horror Nights 14, Two Times the Fear in 2004, there was a house that was centered around Hellgate Prison. And Hellgate Prison, by the way of the dead exposure. So basically, Hellgate Prison in black and white with flashing strobe lights that freak you out at the minute you see them. Not exactly like House of Horrors was last year, but kind of in the same gist. And like all of a sudden you're walking around in darkness and this big strobe light flashes and you see this big monstrous prisoner in your face and he's like licking his lips and he looks like he may or may not be a cannibal, so you don't know if you're going to run or not. And then you run into another prisoner who has like a baseball bat and he chases you, and maybe a guy with a chainsaw, he chases you too. Maybe we'll get Eddie, who knows? I mean, with Run Hostile Territory, it's a very possible chance that we might see Eddie that way. But we'll get to that later. That's what I'm thinking, that is going to be the prison house. Prison house is also another thing that I want to think that actually might end up being something connected to something else, but we'll talk about that in a second. Flashback's the last one, and a lot of people were saying it could be about Havoc, Dogs of War. It'd be a sequel house to Havoc. Havoc, of course, came out in, Havoc came out in 2010, and this time, Havoc, like a sequel house to Havoc. We already got a prison house. Walking Dead somewhat takes place in a prison, or a prison situation, and then we have this house right here, which is Havoc, Dogs of War. It's not really a prison house, but what I'm thinking right now is Flashback is not Havoc. Flashback is our Legendary Truth house for this year, and it could be like the Wyandotte Estate. It could be something like that. It could be basically that Legendary Truth could be investigating everything going on. There could be a little bit of Legendary Truth, kind of like an Easter egg for Legendary Truth in every single one of these mazes, because all of them could link to Legendary Truth one way or another. Like, obviously, Legendary Truth could talk about the werewolf in An American Werewolf in London. They could investigate everyone in Cabin in the Woods, talk about the Harbinger, Long Day, and the director, and all the various people that are high up-and-ups, and possibly go after the zombies of Walking Dead or Resident Evil. We talk about them. You could definitely have him investigate La Llorona, obviously. She is a demonic spirit, so we can go that way. And obviously, they are about a paranormal prison, maybe, a haunted prison, if we want to go that direction. That could be a possible chance. And basically are leading towards Legendary Truth being a big part of this Halloween Horror Nights 23 event. So, another house that people were talking about is Insidious, which I think is a god-awful piece of crap, and I really wish they would not have ever gotten made. It's not scary, it's not good. I don't like paranormal movies, I never will. I don't really enjoy demonic possession movies unless they're done well, and Insidious was not done well. So I'm really not looking forward to Patrick Wilson's latest horror calamity, The Conjuring, that's coming out later this year. So thank God we're not talking about that. There's something I see that with the with Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare last year, we would get the sequel house from Universal Hollywood 2 years ago, Alice Goes to Hell in 3D. Even though we don't have a 3D maze this year, I don't think that's going to happen because Alice Cooper, to say the least, wasn't really received very well in Orlando. And that's a shame because Alice Cooper is awesome. I also did not get a chance to go through that house either, but then again, I only went through 2, but that's because of the deluge and being angry and just, it was a long story. But there's always that. Another thing that I just read today, and it was on Park Rumors, and it basically mentioned a sequel, not a sequel, but a new Penn and Teller house, this time focusing on debunking urban myths. Kind of like, you know, how they were talking about doing the Cthulhu house last year, and that kind of got scrapped. Seeing the Chupacabra, not Cthulhu, but the Chupacabra and South American myths, basically what it was. I mean, themed Penn and Teller towards that. And, God, I'm sorry, I just want a chance to see Penn and Teller live. I got screwed last year. I don't want to get screwed again. Make it happen. I don't see what it could be, but you never know. So that's what we got. And let's talk about a couple things real quick. I want to talk about the shows real quick. Before I get started with the official locations for the houses, I want to talk about the shows, and I want to talk about what we know as fact and what we know as rumor, and what I think is speculation, which are 3 completely different things. So the first fact I want to bring up is the fact that obviously Bill and Ted will return to the Fear Factor Live auditorium, or the stadium, depending on how you look at it. There's not going to be AHHN ever again without Bill and Ted, and it will continue. They could be going over all sorts of different facets of pop culture. If anybody from A&D is watching this, do me one huge favor. Bring Fandangoing on the show one way or another. Please. It's pop culture. It works. Anyway, I see that there has been a rumor, and I'm really excited about this rumor if it comes to fruition. It's going to be the return of the Rocky Horror tribute show to the Beetlejuice Theater. And I have 0 problems with that, because obviously I missed Rocky Horror, because it was way before I started going to Halloween Horror Nights. And I really am a huge Rocky Horror fan. I know the shoutbacks. I've seen it live. I've seen the movie 1 billion times. And I really, really dig Rocky Horror, and I want to see the tribute show brought back to Universal for Halloween Horror Nights for this year. And I think it'd be awesome if that happens. Now, I've got another idea. Now, I'd like to bring back a magic show. The only person that really fits right now, there's 2 people that fit, actually. Actually 3, I'll go with 3. There's 3 people that fit Halloween Horror Nights as of this very moment, that are magicians. Number 1, you go with a comedy magician. You go with the amazing Jonathan. But the problem is, most people would not know who Jonathan was, and even though his very shock brand of magic would fit Halloween Horror Nights very, very well, I don't know if he would be able to get away from Vegas long enough to actually do it. Then again, number 2 is the fact that Penn and Teller could return. Well, with Penn unjustly getting defeated by Trace Adkins in the finale of Celebrity Apprentice this season, he has a little bit of time on his hands, but they're still doing the Penn and Teller show at the Rio in Vegas as well, so that's another problem. Could Penn and Teller return? I think they would want to return. I know Teller would want to return. He seems to be a very big mark for the entire process. But when it comes down to it, I don't think it's going to happen. As much as I really want to see Penn and Teller come back, don't think it's going to happen. But maybe somewhere down the road. Here's my third idea. But in order to do this, you would really have to get a big venue. You'd have to get a really big venue. But the problem is, in order to do this, you also have to have a giant stage. And you got to have a nice setup for it. Well, I want to use animal actors for something this year if I were speculating what I would do. So, we're going to use a stage show in Terminator. In Terminator, there's somebody that really fits Halloween Horror Nights that they haven't brought up yet. He's a magician. He's hip. He's edgy. he's a little bit on the freaky side, and he's worldly known. It's probably a dumb idea to suggest this, but how about Chris Angel? What about Chris Angel coming to Halloween Horror Nights and performing in the Terminator Theater? I think that would be awesome. I think it would be great, and I think it'd pack the place every single show he did. He only had to do like maybe 2 or 3 shows a night. He wouldn't have to do 4 or 5 or 6. He could do like maybe 2 or 3 shows a night, and he could pack the place every single time. Wouldn't have a problem with that at all. But that's just an idea. I'm spitballing here. So there's always that. Here's what I'm thinking, though. The Animal Actors is kind of taken. So what I'm thinking right now is something that a lot of people have already mentioned, but I have a reason to go with this. What if Cabin in the Woods was a legitimate theme of Halloween Horror Nights this year? Cabin in the Woods, no one is saying, well, I'll get to that in a second. Cabin in the Woods would be the official theme of Halloween Horror Nights this year. Not just, they wouldn't be the icon necessarily. I guess if anything at all, the icons could end up being possibly Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins, Steve and Gary. Because they're the people that obviously, even though they're just technicians that work at the facility, they are just the people that make the world go round. They allow for the monsters to make the kills, and of course they make the money from it. So maybe they could be the possible icons, potentially. But what I'm getting to is this. Not just do we have a house. Not just do we have a show. Oh, whoops. I messed that up. Well, might as well talk about it now we got it. So, talk about an opening ceremony, and we haven't had one in quite a while. Well, how about instead of an opening ceremony out in public, or maybe actually we could do it out in public. We have the open ceremony right in front of the opening gates, or right as soon as you go in, depending on how you look at it. We see I guess in this case, it would be the scantily clad girl. I guess she represents the whore. Obviously, it's whore, athlete, scholar, fool, and the virgin. All these people have to be sacrificed in order for the world to continue to go around. That's pretty much how it works. So, we have the scantily clad girl screaming and begging for her life, and then you have, like, people with chainsaws, or just monsters, or different creatures just come out and kill her. And that ends the night. That opens Halloween Horror Nights every night. We have the whore get sacrificed, and that works. And then every single, I can't say every hour on the hour, 4 more times in the night, you have Halloween Horror Nights showcase another sacrifice. So then we sacrifice the athlete, then we sacrifice the scholar, then we sacrifice the idiot, then we sacrifice the virgin. Here's what you do. The final sacrifice of the virgin is done right as midnight or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whenever Halloween Horror Nights is to end. It happens right as people are exiting. It's the last thing you see. So instead of the virgin getting sacrificed, she's the one who stops everything and stops the director and the harbinger before anything else can be done. So her friends are dead, but the world can't be in harmony anymore because she's not dead. So she runs away every single show. And then on Halloween night, you have them kill the virgin at the final show of the event, and the heels win. And the world can be a better place, at least for the facility. So I think that's a great idea. I think that would work really well. Here's another theme I got an idea. Universal had a ginormous hit on their hands this week. $30 million opening for The Purge. Purge isn't the greatest movie, but it's serviceable. And it fits. Now, you may say it fits more of a scare zone. That is very true. So, a Purge could be definitely a scare zone. Here's what you do. You theme the event towards the Purge. Just like how the Silent Hill horn went off when you were walking around in the pitch black darkness in all the fog, and it'd startle you. How about a couple times a night, you have just randomly, it's not even listed on the thing, randomly all of the traditionals and all the beasts, all the various monsters. I mean, hold on, let's talk about it real quick. I gotta find them here. Okay. The iniquitous, the vampires, the beasts, the warriors, the prisoners, the traditionals, the zombies. They're all, or the walkers in this case, sorry. They all get together. And then all of a sudden the siren goes off. And they just bum rush someone. They just bum rush an entire group of people. And you could do plants. So maybe, just maybe, someone, a Universal fan, could be sacrificed, potentially, and then carried away. It could be one of your team members, like, in makeup and dressed up like a plant. It could work really well. But you have other go out as well, and they would be like, they'd be like the family or friends or whatever the hell you want to call the villains in The Purge. And they wear like the presidential masks and everything, and they look like normal people, but they've got these masks on, and they could go out and kill people, and you kill someone, they could kill just a random member of one of the, like a random traditional, or a random beast, or a random prisoner. That person is not seen for the rest of the night. That person's night ends really early. I'm sure a lot of people in Universal will be very happy for that night if they want a short night. But you do that, and you have 2 times a night the Purge siren goes off. Actually, 4 times a night siren goes off, because the siren goes off once to warn people, and then as soon as it stops, an area, a different area, would get bum rushed. And this is in addition to the now scare zones and potentially the roaming hordes. Like, the roaming hordes could also get attacked. And, like, for example, like, there could be hiding spots. Like, obviously, when the Purge would happen, you could duck into, like, Moe's, and that could be, like, a safe zone, if you will. Or, like, Mel's, it could be a safe zone. Or maybe a ride, that could be a potential safe zone. But there could be standing out there waiting for you, and they'll wait for you until the siren goes off again, and that is the ending of the Purge, and then they all walk normally back to backstage until the siren goes off again, and then they'll attack you again, and then, like I said. So I think that's an idea you could do as well. And with the Purge being so successful, and Universal didn't realize it was going to be successful as it was, I mean, it made about $15 million more than they were anticipating it was going to, I think it truly could be utilized at Halloween Horror Nights this year. And given the fact that we've already got the houses, most likely already have the scare zones, and might as well, we could use a theme for the event. So, the Purge, no one is safe. Like, you could do it like that way. Halloween Horror Nights 23, no one is safe. There is no escape. We've already done that before. No one is safe. The Purge. The Purge has begun. Run, hide, just something like that. So, that's what we've got as of right now. I want to talk about where I think everything's going to go. We're talking about the Sprung Tents. Sprung Tent 1 and 2, which are located beside Barney and Men in Black, kind of in that area, over off, close to Springfield and Kid Zone, kind of like when they intersect. And they, I think Sprung Tent 1 is going to be La Llorona, or whatever Silencio ends up becoming. If it's Mama, if it's Sinister, if it's something completely different, I think that's going to be your one Sprung Tent. Sprung Tent 2 is going to be your unnamed prison house, which I ended up going, which I think is going to be Dead Exposure meets Hellgate Prison, and that's going to be freaking creepy. Disaster this year is going to be Havoc. I think Havoc returns in one way or another. The form of Havoc returns, or maybe Disaster Q could end up being the location of potentially the legendary Truth House. Because Walking Dead was there last year, and I think that could be the legendary Truth location. So Legendary Truth's house, maybe that could be the location instead of Havoc. It could go either way. Walking Dead, I think, will get the Parade building this year, which is where House of Horrors was. It's a lot bigger location. It takes forever to walk to, and it would allow for a lot bigger crowds. And I think that would help make the crowds a lot less complicated. I think that's a good idea. Evil Dead's going to go in TNA. I think Evil Dead goes in 21. The one side TNA is going to be Evil Dead. The other side of 21 is going to be the Cabin in the Woods, and that's going to end up being our Icon house. And I think that's going to lead up to both cabin houses in the same building. I think it works really well. You could Fake could save money on production that way. So, American Werewolf in London's going in where Silent Hill was last year. That's Soundstage 22. I think Resident Evil is going to end up in 24, which is, like I said, the section furthest away from Twister. It's a soundstage. I think Rocky Horror goes in Beetlejuice. I know Fear Factor Live is going to host Bill and Ted this year. And if they end up doing the Sacrifice show that I talked about, Animal Hackers is the right place to put it. And maybe an unnamed magic show of some sort in potentially Terminator or possibly Kid Zone. I don't know. I mean, there's a stage over there. You might as well do something with it. So, I mean, that's my prediction right now. I do think Transformers is going to be running during the event. I think that's stupid for that not to be the case. I think Fast Food Boulevard as well as Moe's Tavern will definitely be open for the event, so that's going to be entertaining. We are going to get the return of specific scare zones and Central Park, Hollywood, Kid Zone, World Expo, San Francisco, and New York / Sting Alley is going to be the locations we're looking at this time. So I don't know if we're gonna have specific scare zones, and then you've got roaming hordes as well. So there's no escape, especially when the purge happens, if that goes down. So, I mean, these are things to look forward to. We got Legendary Truth merchandise coming by the time this month is over, if not way before that. And more stuff will be announced as we progress. So we don't know what's true, what's not. We pretty much have been told that we have all of them correct. We just don't know if we got the right locations correct or not. So that's Halloween Horror Nights 23, and right now we wait for the announcement of ticket prices to be announced. How much Stay and Scream is going to cost, how much the Frequent Fear Pass is going to cost, how much all the Express Passes are going to cost, and the Rush of Fear Pass, and what the pass holder nights are going to be. The pass holder night was really awesome, actually, last year. You got to do 3 houses and Bill and Ted. You can have all that accomplished before most people got through the first house, so that's awesome. And there's also the special events, if you will, the extras, the RIP tours, the Unmasking the Horror tours, and the Arcane Insights tours. So hopefully those will all be announced in the near future. So we look forward to more news from Halloween Horror Nights. So that was my opinion on what's going to happen. So that's a little bit from my mind what I think is going to happen in Halloween Horror Nights 23. I may be correct, I may not be correct. We'll find out sooner rather than later. And we start getting more concrete information or even any more rumors, I'll shoot you guys a video and we'll talk about that. So that's going to be our Halloween Horror Nights video for today. Sorry everybody that Ben and Will and Molly have all been extremely busy lately, so we haven't got any new content from them yet. Actually, in Molly's case, nothing from her at all yet. But everyone's busy right now. Hopefully when things calm down, we'll be able to get some more content out, and we'll get the return of Will, Ben, and of course Mr. Flashback in the near future. So that'll be coming up soon. AJ, of course, has his movie review coming out on Friday this week. It's going to be Man of Steel, probably before midnight, as well as This Is the End, which we're watching on Tuesday. So we've got that this week. Wednesday I work all day, so that's going to be a long, long day. So we'll get a video to you guys Wednesday morning, shoot you that way. Thursday, of course, we got TNA, and that's going to be awesome. And then Friday, probably actually, Thursday might be TNA. Friday will be AJ's movie review. Saturday, NXT and SmackDown. And we'll see what happens with more Popcaster content throughout the week. So I hope you guys enjoyed these videos. If you like these videos, tell your friends about them. Subscribe to these videos. Thumbs up these videos. Do leave a comment. Do tell your friends to do the same. And share them on social media. Retweet them. And do whatever you can do to get the word out about Suro and Disney and the other Popcasters here on Pop. So, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. So thank you guys for watching today. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.